What's going on, YouTube? I got a good one for you guys today. Is bodybuilding unhealthy? So, the biggest thing we're going to be discussing today is bodybuilders at the highest level, the elite bodybuilders. And the reason for this is these are the guys that are pushing their bodies to the furthest limits. So, hang out with me for a little bit. We're going to get into this touchy subject. In my opinion, if you look at the whole thing, you can break this thing down into three parts, three health risks that really plague a bodybuilder's life. And those are drugs, training, and diet. Now, let me get into this because that might sound a little broad in general. Alright, to lead off into the first section, we're going to get into Dallas McCarver. Now, this dude was only 26 when he was found dead. There was a bunch of rumors going around about possible insulin abuse that directly caused this, but I don't think that was ever proved. However, we do know that the top level of bodybuilders abuse all sorts of PEDs, including insulin, steroids, SARMs, peptides, etc. And next we go into Rich Piana, who died in the same window of time that Dallas did. His death was also mysterious. It was claimed that he fell and hit his head, and I believe he was put into a coma due to brain swelling, but he would later die in the state and never awake. Now with Rich, we don't even have to speculate about the drug use because he was very open about it. This is one of the reasons why I personally love Rich Piana. He had such a cool personality. He was so open and honest about everything, even things with the stigma such as drugs. But we know, because he said so, that he did large amounts of almost every PED he could find. And according to most people, the doses he was using was considered pretty damn high. Now, was his death related to this? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. That's not really for me to say. But we do know most doctors would tell you that this lifestyle is not healthy. So to close out the first section on drugs, I will play devil's advocate for a minute. While some of these drugs have therapeutical value, such as hormone replacement and anti-aging benefits, the way they are being used in this sport is not fitting into the confines of medicinal use. You know, some of the worst drugs are diuretics and insulin. These drugs are not even in the same danger zone as steroids, because while steroids can enlarge the heart, cause organ damage or other issues, these can kill you instantly and should not be toyed with unless under the direct supervision of a doctor for medical reasons. Going into number 2, we got training. Now, most would think of this as one of the healthy parts of bodybuilding, and it is to some extent. However, when you get to the IFBB level, the top level, you're not just going to the gym and getting a good workout in. Most of these guys are killing it in the gym, moving insane weight. Over time, almost all of them develop some kind of injuries, whether major or minor. Some lucky guys get out with relatively good joints and muscle health, while others, such as Ronnie, have lifelong issues due to the lifting. Now, Ronnie was known for pushing it as hard as possible, and this is really what got him the winning package that ruled the Olympia for 8 years, but it also caused him his major back injury. And after several surgeries, he's still left in pain and still has trouble walking to this day. Jay Cutler was pretty lucky, I feel like, for most of his career, but towards the end, he tore a bicep. He did get a surgery which fixed it pretty successfully, but the layoff and the recovery was definitely a hit to his career and made it difficult to come back the same Jay that he was in 2009 and 2010. Dorian Yates was basically unofficially crowned one of the hardest trainers in the sport. Now, this man killed it in the gym, and again, this is what helped develop the physique that was unbeatable for most of the 90s. But in the same fashion as Ronnie, he sustained several injuries, such as a torn bicep and tricep. And this is why I put training on the list. While weightlifting is now linked to longer life and better health, the extreme that bodybuilders have to go to is definitely a risk to health, and most certainly will leave these guys with lasting problems as they get older. And last, we got diet. Now with diet, I'm also including weight. So, as with weightlifting, diet is usually something that could be considered a healthy part for bodybuilders. And for some of the lighter guys, it actually is. But with the men's open competitors, tipping the scales at 300 pounds, the sheer amount of food they have to force feed to be that weight, and the crash diet and water restriction during the last part of contest prep is not so healthy. I've heard several stories of bodybuilders having issues with their GI tract and metabolism after leaving bodybuilding. On top of the amount of food, whether too much or not enough, being 300 pounds of muscle is very hard on the body and heart specifically. Pumping blood to all that muscle is actually harder on the heart than someone who is 300 pounds of fat. So while a lot of these guys eat very strict, healthy diets, which is very good, it can be detrimental to their health if done incorrectly. So to wrap all this up, I do want to make it clear that I'm not dogging or judging anyone here. I'm a huge fan of bodybuilding, and I love watching these dudes come in shredded at 300 pounds on stage. I just wanted to make a few points about how this sport is actually much more unhealthy than many people would care to admit. The average person has no idea what it takes to get to this weight that these guys are at, and then to shed off almost every ounce of fat they have on their body. When these guys come in on contest day, they are at their weakest. They are dehydrated, stripped of nutrients, hungry, and usually on some form of PEDs, which can all be very taxing on the body. So believe me, when I say I am not ripping on the industry, I'm just shedding some light into the negative sides of the sport, a sport that is often misunderstood and rarely put under a microscope in the public eye. So whether it's use of PEDs causing organ damage, torn muscles, hernias, distended stomachs, messed up GI tracts, several other things that could cause effects to bodybuilders' well-being and health. And again, as a disclaimer, I am not a doctor or a nutritionist, so any opinions I've given on drugs and diet are just that, opinions. Opinions based on research and from paying attention to the industry over the last few years. Do not do anything without your doctor's say so. This was another one from Jake with FitFam checking out. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.